Hey there, all you queens and cryptids, and welcome to Queer and Loathing, the only podcast that always eats their vegetables. I'm your host, Brett Bodie, and with me are my co-hosts.
I'm Mel.
I'm Samantha.
And today we're talking about the recent release, Heretic, a big buzzy 2024 A24 horror movie starring Hugh Grant in a great role, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like two girls.
Yeah.
Two
ladies.
girls. One
Candle.
Oh.
Yeah, so also, in addition to Hugh Grant, it also stars sort of up-and-coming scream queen Sophie Thatcher.
Love her.
That's the
Who's
one from
in-
Yellow Jackets?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yellow Jackets, she was in Maxine. She starred in Boogeyman.
Oh,
Yeah,
the movie I'm an apologist
Yes.
for and no one else.
that's the one.
And then Chloe East, who I didn't know about before,
Me neither.
and
Great.
loved her.
Yeah, she was
So-
fantastic. So there was like So basically the premise of this movie is that these two girls are Mormon like missionaries. They're going around proselytizing to the community, trying to follow up on leads of like, this person took our brochure, so we're gonna go knock on their door and be like, do you want to learn about Jesus Christ Mormon style?
Well, like, not only took a brochure, but, like, they are on a list. Like,
Right.
they have the addresses and the names, so I guess some people don't just ignore other people like I do.
I guess it's kind of foreign to me personally,
Yeah.
but
I want to start out with a quote that I think perfectly captures this movie.
Okay.
And I don't think Samantha's going to be familiar with this. You might be, Brett, and maybe some degenerate person who listened to this may know it. So here is the quote
Okay.
that just came to me watching this movie. Quote, "In this moment, I am euphoric, not because of any phony God's blessing, but because I am enlightened by my own intelligence." A.A. Lewis. Have you ever heard it?
I have, but I
So it's an internet infamous quote from a teenager who went on the Reddit board for atheism. This is like 15 years ago.
Okay.
He went on there and was like, I want to be a professional quote person. And this is a quote I came up with. And he posted that into the atheism subreddit.
Oh my god.
So A.A. Lewis, wherever he is, he's not like a 19-year-old anymore. But it became like the most sort of like infamous. It was like early
I
Reddit
see.
fame.
So I missed it, but I've seen it referenced. Like people have like
It still pops up,
Yeah.
like less now because Reddit has so many new users.
Mm.
But back in the day, everyone kind of knew this quote because it just really captured the sort of like self-indulgent, pretentious fart sniffing
Oh.
of Reddit, which
I
for
want to be a professional quote maker.
some
does it pay?
reason, nothing.
Well, I'm out.
A lot of derision is what
Yes.
this kid got. But yeah, for some reason, it reminded me of this movie, which we'll get into.
I can see why.
But yes, like this, I will say I really enjoyed this movie. We all went and saw it together.
We did.
Good.
And I managed, as I always try to do, but I managed to see this without knowing like anything about it. I knew Hugh Grant was in it, and I knew that he was a villain because I had seen the first like few pieces of the trailer
Mm.
where
Okay.
like the two girls go into his house
Yeah.
and then he's just like vaguely menacing. And then I managed to like cover my ears
Okay.
and my eyes.
That's what I was going to ask. I
Yeah.
was like, how did you get through seeing any movies in theaters without
Mm.
fully seeing the trailer? But
Did you see me
Covering
in the
your-
theater?
no.
Well, you weren't sitting next to me, but
Oh.
Brett saw me. I literally will plug my ear. I will take
Well, it's funny
out my
because like
loops
yeah.
to be able to plug my ears,
Yes.
and then I cover my eyes.
Well, because you'll like a trailer will start, and I see the moment you decide that you want to see it, and then that's when the earplugs come out.
I don't do
fingers
it
go
for.
in.
I say I don't do it for movies I don't care,
Right.
or like if I know the property. Like I
Yeah.
didn't stop myself from watching the Dune trailers because I
Sure.
know Dune. But if
Yeah.
it's like if I, like I always feel like, especially movies like this, like I felt really good about going in not really knowing where it was gonna go. And I have a feeling I'm sure the trailer didn't give too much away.
It gave, I mean, you definitely go in knowing, okay, he's testing the two of them in their faith.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I think for
And
your
you know
not
that
wanting
pretty
to,
quickly in
Yes.
the movie anyway.
But
Yeah, the
if you
trailer
didn't want to know
showed-
what was happening, it's a good thing you covered up.
Yeah, because the trailer showed like him writing belief and disbelief on the two doors. So
I'm glad I missed that.
It didn't go any further than that, but it did.
I didn't even know there was a
See
second room. So going in.
Wow.
So I was very...
I didn't even know houses had multiple rooms. I've never seen a trailer for a house.
Okay, wait. No, not to derail, but last night I watched the movie Oddity, which
Yeah, I've
I
seen
actually
Oddity.
disliked, but I don't like
Okay.
that filmmaker.
Mm.
But like the house in that literally is like they could only afford one set. They have like
It's
one
just
room.
that one big like
It's one big
hallway
room.
thing with
It's
this-
one
yeah.
room that's a hallway.
That's true.
And so maybe it could have been like that.
They
where
blew the budget on Wooden Man.
They did. It all went to Wooden Man.
I don't know.
It's not for you.
Okay.
But yeah, so you liked it?
Yeah, I also enjoyed it, and I think leaving the theater, I was like, oh, I didn't know this was also a comedy.
Oh,
like,
it's so funny.
It
I
was
laughed
very,
so
very funny.
many times.
I know.
And was also uncomfortable so many times, but
Well, that's what made the
It was
laughing,
funny.
especially in the first hour, better, is that it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like that cringy, but like, it's also legitimately funny.
I don't think they were overly trying to be funny. It just, I mean, it was definitely intentional, but it didn't feel forced for me. I was like, okay, it's funny.
Yeah,
I
we're
agree.
we're gonna spoil as we do.
Certainly.
I recommend you go see it. I don't think it's that scary. There's a couple jump scares.
Yeah.
You handled it.
I think I was mostly fine. Brett, you were next to me. I don't think I covered my eyes at all. I did hover my thumbs outside of my ears just in case I needed to
Yes.
cover real
You were
quick.
you were in your defensive posture.
Yes, I was ready,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't too scary.
But if you want to see Hugh Grant do a Jar Jar Binks voice, because that is not something I expected.
he does a Jar Jar Binks voice. He talks about
sings.
Lana Del Rey.
He sings
Yes.
"Creep" by
Yeah.
Radiohead.
He sure does.
He really.
And bless him for it.
The one of the notes I have here is that he's giving deranged Willy Wonka, which is funny because he was an Oompa Loompa.
That's right.
In that
Oh, I
Timothy
didn't see
Chalamet.
that.
Wonka.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It was fine.
The
What did he
musical
say?
prequel the people were clamoring for.
Yeah,
God.
no one wanted it, and I don't think anyone loved it, but it was actually better than I expected.
I
Yeah, I
think
heard
he
it was
said he
okay.
just wanted a paycheck. Like they were
He
like, "Why
got
did you
it.
take this role?" And he was like, "I need money."
He was
Yeah.
the best part of that movie.
Okay,
So.
okay.
And he was the best part of this movie, but in a different way, because everyone was good in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But I
everyone
agree,
was
but-
bad in Wonka.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, his character really made the movie, and his performance was amazing too. But yeah, I agree. He
Can
was the
we
best part.
can we talk about Hugh Grant?
Let's.
Always.
Because like most of the people who listen to our podcast, because again we have our demos, we know they're either our age or older.
Yeah.
So we've all seen his sort of interesting arc as an actor. Because when we were growing up, he was very much in this like specific kind of role, which like I just think of so encapsulated by like Notting Hill, where he's like
Yeah.
bumbling, cute,
Yep.
well-meaning, nice guy.
So British.
Very British, very sort of like, I just think of him saying whoopsie daisy over and over again in Notting Hill. Not that he didn't play any other types of roles, but like, you know, he was in Sense and Sensibility.
Yeah.
You know, he just sort of had that leading romantic guy vibe. And then he had like a pretty public fall from grace
Yeah,
with a
scandal.
scandal. Y'all can look it up. I don't think it's that spicy. Back then it was because people are terrible.
Yeah.
But, and he cheated on Elizabeth Hurley, which is kind
Right,
of a
that was-
shocking
yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
That was like probably the most noteworthy part.
Like, cheat with anybody,
public
but
eye, yeah.
on Elizabeth Hurley,
Mhm.
couldn't be me. But then he kind of had, I don't know, like, I think that him falling out of the public eye as sort of like, I can't call him America's sweetheart because he's not American, but he kind of had that sweetheart.
But he was
We
like
love
America's
him.
like long distance
Yeah.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
You don't know my boyfriend. He's from London. I don't know where Hugh Grant is
He's
from.
Londonish.
I cannot tell where British people are from when I hear them talk.
But you
They're
know
from
who
over
can?
there.
British people. They'll be like,
Yeah.
he grew up in this at this intersection of this neighborhood, and I'm like, go fuck yourself. I don't know why the like hyper specific accents.
The other day,
They bother me, I think, because it's so foreign to me.
it's so hard for me to
Yeah.
tell. And I'm like kind of good at American accents,
Hmm.
like, but not really.
Well, our country is huge. huge.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
kind of
they-
like, it makes a lot of sense. That
Why
we
do they have so
have-
many? It's so small.
Yeah.
They just don't leave their
They-
little
they
shires.
don't.
Yeah. Or at least that's how it was.
They're little shires.
But yeah, I'm like, the accents in my head are like, do they sound like the Beatles? Because I think that's like the Liverpool accent.
Mm.
Do they sound like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins?
Some of them do sound like that.
I know. Or do they sound like just like standard, I guess, like more posh
They're
British people? That just means they're
literally-
from
Do
anywhere
they
but
sound
the
like
rich.
the queen?
Yeah.
literally yesterday, because I'm listening to a China Mieville book right now, but he's actually narrating it. And I was like, wow, he sounds so much like Abigail Thorne, the YouTuber actress. And I was like, they must be from the same part of the UK. I know it. And then I Googled it, and they're from like opposite sides. And I was like, well, I'm just uncultured swine.
Or maybe it's just like convergent evolution. Of
Like
accents.
it is for American accents. Because
Well, yeah,
like ours
that's-
have sort of flattened out. Unless you're from like a really small town, basically people sound the same. But anyway, Hugh Grant, he's cute.
He is really cute.
And I loved his drip in this. I dress like that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
He
the
was
whole
looking
movie, I
good.
was just like looking at his outfit. I was like, oh my God. the vest, the
Inspo.
little like denim shirt, the glasses.
In your house with the like cozy like wood paneled
Oh my God.
interiors,
Oh,
the library.
The little catching the drips from the ceiling
Oh,
into
yeah.
your little tipping pot,
I
whatever.
also-
Yeah,
just, like,
I want to say it's a
varied.
drinking bird, but it's not. It's
But
like an
it's
actual.
similar,
Y'all
Yeah.
can't see us, but we're waving our hands.
Yeah.
Up and down.
I realize that podcast is an audio medium, but Samantha and I are gesturing furiously to help with your comprehension.
Yes.
And imagine whatever you want
Yeah.
that they're doing.
And it may or may not be PG.
No, this guy is literally what I would be like if I was left alone too long. Like, I also
I'm not gonna fight you.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I have religious iconography all over my house. Like, I was a religion major in college. Like,
When I feel like you would want to like not do this, but like intellectually spar with like
Yeah.
people about
oh,
religion, you know?
I literally was a person in college who, in a different kind of problematic way, would ask people where they were from and what their religion was. Not because I was one of those white people that's like, where are you from? So I can talk to you about food, but just because I want to know what their religion was. You know, or like, you know, there's guys that are like, where are you from? Because my wife's from the Philippines. And they're like,
Right.
Oh my god.
from Vietnam. Like,
Or like what I get, where you're biracial and you're black and your mom's white, and people go, "What are your earliest memories?" and assume you're adopted and want to know what country you're from.
Where did she get you?
Where did
was
she
that
get
it?
me? My mom's been asked
the
multiple
next time
times.
someone asks, can she say something absolutely wild?
Oh, my mom used to say Saks Fifth Avenue when I was
pretty
a
good.
baby, and my mom would be flying with me, and people would be like, "Where'd you get her?" And she was like, "Oh, I got her at Saks." Like,
good.
fuck off, none of your business.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But yeah, I always love to like find out what religions people are and then ask them about like their sect and like what makes it different. Even though most people
Yeah.
aren't even aware, right? Like it kind of blew my mind when I found out that Protestants don't think Catholics are Christian.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
because I'm Jewish, so it's like y'all all kind of the same to me, sort of. But there's so many little different pieces, but like as this character says, there's like broad. Anyway, I'm this guy, but I don't. Spoiler alert: I don't have anyone locked up in my basement because I don't have a
Wow.
basement.
That we know
Because I
of.
don't have a basement yet.
But if you did,
Yeah,
But if anyone's willing to do some discounted contract work,
I just need to get Sue from
Oh,
the
yeah.
Substance to build me secret rooms in like
she
a
could
week.
do anything.
yeah, best contractor I've ever seen.
Yeah,
All
That
herself.
door panel was so flush
oh, it's perfect.
for the secret room.
I don't think she even double checked any of her measurements. She was just confident. She said, "This works."
If I'm gonna build
She
an
said
entire,
measure none, cut once. That's all I need.
Ooh.
and she did perfectly.
She
Yeah.
did.
So yeah, like I don't know, like if I'm gonna build a house that is a trap laid specifically just waiting for some proselytizer to come to my home, you could do a lot worse in this house.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a pretty good setup.
it's
for
pretty
that.
good setup. It seems perfectly made for specifically trapping these two young women inside of it. But let's talk about the plot since we have to talk about the movie, and I want to anyway. Sorry, I just had so much coffee. Okay, so yes, we start out with our two protagonists. And I want to say, again, I'm just going to keep saying spoilers, because this movie kept delighting me with the ways it went. You have the most Mormon-y Mormon girl to ever Mormon.
Sister Paxton.
Sister Paxton. And then who's the other one? Barnes?
Yeah.
Sister Barnes is the sort of goth.
Yeah, more worldly and...
Like, more edgy.
Yeah.
And she's obviously more, like, questioning. So both of them grew up to some extent within the church, but, like, Sister Paxton, the blonde one.
Yes.
Is, like, has 8 siblings, and, like, her parents are Mormon missionaries, and her parents are probably Mormon missionaries, and she just, like, she's clearly, like, very naive in the sense of, like, what the outside world is like. We have this very cute scene where they're talking about porn. And
from the opening, I loved that. It was
one of the first lines. Yeah. She's like, big elephant dong. What did she say? It was like elephant trunk.
Well, they're about Magnum condoms because they're sitting on a bench advertising one.
That's right.
And so clearly she just saw it and started yapping about it.
Yes.
And then we're all like, so you be watching pornography is what we get from this. Which is fine.
Yes. And she's curious about it.
Be curious.
But she's embarrassed about it.
Right, but I think she's trying to, like, broach the topic with Sister Barnes in a way that it's, like, there's some plausible deniability of, like, oh, it's an ad, and I don't know, nothing.
And,
but I want to talk about this.
Yeah, she's dick curious.
Yeah.
And then Sister Barnes is sort of like the classic character in a horror movie who's, like, more internalized, quiet, sort of gothic alt-coded. She said her mom converted. And that they're from, Philly or something?
Something like that.
They're not
somewhere in, like,
from
the Northeast.
they're not from Utah.
And I think they said they tried out different Christian-like religions, like, or tried to find a home.
They were looking for a home in the religion and settled on Mormonism, which is kind of like a crazy choice, but okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, like, if you watch as many horror movies as all three of us have seen at this point, it seems, Sam, you're in now.
I'm so proud of you.
You're one of us. If you've seen that many horror movies, I think you're immediately, like, told through the language of film that Sister Barnes is your main character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the vibe I got.
I agree.
From the beginning. And
I love it.
And I love that that's not the case.
Yeah, you don't expect the more, at least seemingly naive character who seems a little less situationally aware. Like, she doesn't pick up on the threat as quickly. And it's very funny because there's a few moments where Sister Paxton will just be kind of yapping or being like, do it very clumsily. She's like, I can tell you're a very spiritually curious person. And you just see Sister Barnes reacting like, you dumb bitch. But, like, still, like, with the smile and being nice. But it's so funny to watch her react to, like...
And we find out later she's actually paying attention. She's just babbling and making her own observations.
Yeah, she's very smart.
Like, we are underestimating her.
Almost a twist in its own is that the character of Sister Paxton ends up being actually very savvy and very aware, and she can actually go toe-to-toe.
And she's the one
philosophically with Hugh Grant.
And she's coded as the true believer. Who doesn't question. And Sister Barnes is coded and says basically outright that she is between belief and disbelief and that she questions. But they're both missionaries. That we see them kind of going door to door. They have their bicycles. Is this in the Pacific Northwest?
I'm not
sure.
It kind of looks like it.
It did kind of look like it.
It's a very beautiful setting. And they're walking around.
It seemed rainy and I forgot to question why this Brit's there, but... I don't know if he said anything, but British man in wherever this is.
They're everywhere.
I guess so. You know what? They are everywhere, and they made sure of it, so you're right.
They're actually very good at finding places and just living there.
Yeah.
Well, the movie was filmed in Vancouver, so I'm not sure where it's supposed to be, but...
And it could take place there, because they do be sending out
Oh yeah.
missionaries,
Yeah.
I guess is the right word.
Mormons abound.
Proselytizers. So they end up having a bunch. I'm assuming this is not a fun time for them, and you have to sort of stay positive.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
you see them trying to hand out pamphlets to people on the street who are basically just like fuck off or ignoring them, and then they run into a group of teenagers
Who want to take a picture with them, but really they want to just pants Sister Paxton.
to look at her magic underwear.
Her magic underwear, which is not nice, guys. Look,
No.
if you're going to be
No.
mean to a Mormon, don't be mean to a Mormon girl or a woman. Don't be mean to Mormon women.
No.
You can be mean to Mormon men. I don't care. You could do that. That's fine. There's enough structural misogyny within that religion that you can make fun of Mitt Romney. I do it all the time. But you don't be mean to the Mormon ladies.
Yeah.
They're going through
No,
enough.
and just don't pants anyone
Don't
on the
pants
street.
anyone. It's sexual assault, y'all.
Yeah,
it's actual
just
assault.
terrible.
So yeah, don't do that. But that happens to them, and clearly she's very shaken by it.
Yeah, she's
well-
a trooper. Like she doesn't totally fall to pieces, but obviously she is upset, as I think anyone
It's
would
assault.
be. Yes.
It's assault. It's not
Well, and
nice.
she like got her hopes up. I think that they were
Yeah.
maybe interested. So I think that part stung too.
Because I think her aim is to finally, not convert, maybe convert. I don't know
yes,
what
absolutely.
they
They want to convert. That's their point.
And Sister Barnes has already, I mean, is her number real? What was she saying? Like, I've already gotten 6 people or something. And you're like, have you?
She said like 36 or
yeah, it
something.
was so many, and I was like,
6
really?
felt high to me.
Yeah.
But it's like the language. One thing I really like about this movie is that it's not hard to decipher it, but it's not banging you over the head with some of the language of the film that's used. Because like just through the opening, you as the audience are supposed to be filling in those movie tropes you know, which is, okay, Sister Barnes is more worldly. She's more sort of like on guard. Sister Paxton's more open. She's, more vulnerable, right? Because, she's the one who gets pantsed.
Yeah.
She's the one who starts like tearing up from it.
Yeah.
She's the one who's more hopeful, and she kind of goes off on this whole thing about like, or she does that later about the butterfly, but she just kind of has this sort of like purity about her. And I think this movie is, again, just like The House. It's laying a trap for you, the audience, to fall into for like what you assume about these characters. Because like, I don't know if I've ever seen a horror movie about Mormons. It's not a common one, y'all.
No.
There's a lot of Christian horror. There's some pretty bad Jewish horror out there.
There's some good.
There's okay Jewish horror out there.
The Vigil, if you've ever seen that.
Is that the one you made me watch?
No, that was not
Not
very
good.
One. Whichever one we watched was not very good. But The Vigil is good.
But I don't think I've ever seen like a Mormon horror movie before. So it's already like an interesting choice.
Yeah. And the casting was very authentic because both of those
Yeah.
actresses grew up in
Really?
Mormon church in real life. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Sophie Thatcher and
The newer
the
one.
other one,
Chloe
Chloe
East.
Very good.
They're both very good.
East.
Yes.
East.
And
I
so,
thought that was
yeah.
interesting.
So I just really like that whole opening because first you're seeing like this is just like a day in their life. It's not easy, and they eventually arrive, and they're going through like a list on their phone of names of people who are Mormon curious, and they end up at Hugh Grant's house, and that's where the rest of the movie takes place. It's turns into a what is it called when a movie just takes place in one location?
Like a chamber piece.
Chamber piece. It turns into kind of like a chamber piece.
Literally.
Yeah.
It does take place a lot in that one chamber.
Yeah.
There are chambers in this.
There are like 2 main chambers. In the movie, it's established, and this is true in real life, that these Mormon missionaries, since they're women, cannot be in a room or a home alone with a man. They need like his wife or another woman to be present. So when they, knock on Hugh Grant's door,
And it's cold outside.
it's very cold outside. Yeah, it's like snowing. They rode their bikes, so they chained them up outside. And then but they can smell like blueberry pie. And he's like, oh, come in, my wife's just in the kitchen. And they're like, oh, we really need to see her. Like, she has to be in the room.
She's there.
She's right back there. Like, I'll go get her. So
But come in, it's so cold.
Right. And so they do.
And come in if you don't mind metal in the ceiling and the walls. I'm going to go get her.
Yep.
I'm assuming all of us clocked that.
Oh, yeah. He says it.
Yeah, he sure does. But I, like, totally, I don't know. It didn't, like, it just went over my head when he said it.
Oh, I immediately was
just
like no self-service.
Oh, yeah. I thought, for me, I was like, maybe like, oh, it's like a Faraday cage kind of. Like, honestly, I assume that if you're welcoming randos into your house, I don't know, like, people are really weird.
Yes.
People are super duper weird. So, like, I wouldn't immediately think, like, threat. But, I mean, look, I'm not going into these houses.
I always assume threat.
You do.
Yes.
Which is smart. But
Thank you.
these girls' job is to take people at their word and trust them.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, and they've been conditioned to do that by their religion.
Yes.
Especially to trust
There's a
these
lot
men.
of that in this, which is conditioning.
There is.
So yes, they end up going in his house. The door closes behind them, and now we are in his sort of like living room. There's no wife to be seen.
Yeah, but apparently she's just back in the kitchen. She's
making blueberry pie.
baking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has to get it out of the oven. She has to be close by.
She's
Yeah.
shy.
She's
Oh,
shy,
she's shy.
yes.
So yeah, this movie engages with a lot of themes, and one that, I mean, the most obvious theme that it just very openly explores is faith, right?
Yes.
And it's faith not only in religion, but faith in what people are telling you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so throughout, and it's great when you start realizing this. There's a moment where Sister Barnes figures it out because she turns the candle and sees that it's a blueberry scented candle. There is no blueberry pie.
There's only candle.
There is only candle.
Two girls, one candle.
Stop
That's
saying it.
Well,
He's taken
am
the...
I wrong?
You are. There are more than two girls.
Well, we didn't know that
okay,
at first.
I'm talking about the one chamber.
Okay. In this chamber.
Yeah, in this chamber.
He, like, takes their coats not
He
to
does
a
take their
nearby
coats.
closet. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm going to take your coats back and go check on my wife. And you hear him walk far and far away. And you're
Right.
like,
You're like, where are you going with those coats?
where do these coats need to be?
And he knows that they're just going to sit there
Yeah.
politely.
Yeah.
It's like so much
Yes.
of what he's able to do is because he knows how these girls are conditioned. And of course, he is a Redditor without a Reddit. So like the hubris is what ends up getting him. But it serves him very well in 3/4 of this movie, if not like 90% of it,
Yeah.
where he can just sort of rely on them to be extremely polite.
Yeah.
Like the politeness of women, especially young women, is something that I know people talk about it. Like I think more people in the past like 10 years have sort of talked about like the politeness that women feel like they're supposed to showcase and how it can put them in dangerous situations. And you can definitely see that on display in this movie where like I love it when they at one point they know that they need to get out of there, and when they finally go to leave and they find that door is locked, that is a moment where rationally you'd be like, fight him,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
attack him,
Yeah.
say something to him, but they keep going along with it to a point where even when he is being just like an outright psycho at them in chamber number 2,
Yes. In the library chamber.
in the library chamber, Sister Paxton is still like, thank you so much for allowing us into your home, and we're just gonna be going now.
And I really appreciated this spirited discussion.
Yes. It's like when someone is like delivering their like unhinged verbal manifesto at you,
That's
and you
what
are
it was.
so conditioned to be polite.
But, like, can relate pointing at myself because
Yeah.
if I get nervous, do I start getting a little higher pitch and go, well, thank you so much for everything that you've done that I could think of that might be nice. And I'm telling you these things, but I want out.
Yeah. Well, that's the
So-
thing. It's also politeness as a means of just like escaping safely.
Yeah.
Of just like,
Well, it's like, is
if I
this
don't
what
piss
you
him
want?
off, yeah. If I make him happy, like, yeah, maybe that'll be enough for
Mm-hmm.
him to just like reconsider or just like let us go.
There's a
We can't piss them off.
You don't want to piss them off because there's also, I'm just gonna keep talking about Reddit because this is like a Redditor horror movie.
It is.
It's Reddit. There is a subreddit called When Women Refuse. And it's just it's not fun. It's just women being murdered because they got attacked because they said no to a man.
I was hopeful.
It's not nice. But I thought about that in this movie too, because their defense mechanism, because they're small, and even though he's old, he's not decrepit.
No,
and he's not that old to where like you'd be like, these two girls could take him. It's like maybe
not.
Right. Like, that's when I could almost see it going either way.
I did appreciate them in the second chamber finally eyeing weapons.
Yes.
Well, you can see them start, because, like, when they're in chamber 1, which is the living room, they realize they don't have their coats. It's very cold outside. They realize, like, oh, we can, walk. And
and isn't that the bike lock in the coat?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're like, without our bikes, we could walk these, like, 2 miles in the cold. We're going to risk it. Because, like, at some point he leaves and he's like, oh, I'm just going to, like, come follow me into this other room.
Right. And they can't get any signal. They're trying to call the...
And we've established they can't get out, but also he controls the lights in there. There's no option when the lights go out in that room, which we find out is on a timer. They're not able to access it and turn lights back on. So they would have to leave that room no matter what.
No, they were able to turn the light back on.
On a timer.
It's on a timer.
It was on a timer, but it was hidden. You find out later that he has to, like, open up this rando box.
I thought that was for the door.
Oh, you were
the
so
light
right.
he just does in front of them.
You know what? How dare you correct me on my own podcast?
I'm a Redditor. I'm this man. Of course I'm going to correct you.
But the lights did turn off on a timer.
Well, there's some weird...
Which drove me nuts. This is not a hot tub with bubbles.
What do you think you are, a hot tub?
They are in a hot tub of logic. Because at first they're, like, excited because he's like, oh, I want to talk to you. And he pulls out this, like...
this annotated...
like an extremely annotated and, like, sticky noted Mormon Bible.
They're impressed.
And they're like, ooh.
Like, you know more about it than we do.
She's like, gee, mister.
Yeah.
You read it more than I did. And then they start seeing, he goes into this. It's in chamber 1 where he starts talking about Monopoly, right? Or no.
Chamber 2 is
chamber
the
2 is Monopoly. Okay, so in chamber 1,
that was like my favorite part of the movie. I think
it's so good.
Was the Monopoly extended game metaphor / as you said, Mel, verbal manifesto.
It was so good, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So chamber 1 is where they start realizing things are off because he's charming. He's using that. This is not a term I came up with. I saw a YouTube video about it. Adorkable misogyny.
Yeah,
where,
I've seen that video.
Yeah, and it's quite good in that it talks about the way that this sort of like whoopsie daisy, like dorky guy.
Hugh Grant.
When he's young and it's used in a specific way, it's very endearing and cute. And the exact same, he is doing the exact same shtick that we all loved him for, and he's using it menacingly.
Yes.
And it's so well done.
It is.
And so he'll say something that puts them off guard. Like he'll say something like about like sex that makes them uncomfortable. But then he'll say, oh, I'm sorry, right? Or like he said something about, we see that Sister Barnes's dad died of ALS. And like he makes an off-color joke, but then he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I misheard. And it's like, we as the audience already see him as menacing, so we can read into what he's saying as menacing.
Right,
yeah.
And intentionally pushing their boundaries to make them uncomfortable.
Yes. And
but under the sheen of like plausible deniability of like, oh, I'm sorry, I went too far. Like
chamber
I didn't
1
to.
is chamber plausible deniability.
Yes.
I think.
You're right.
Yeah.
So
boy, does it level up each chamber.
Sure does.
Each chamber really does go to the next level of like, you've gone too far into Reddit. You need to shut the tab. So chamber 1 is just the front page.
Yes.
And you're like, this could be bad.
So
but
chamber
also,
3 is like you sort by controversial.
Chamber 3 is you've gone into some of those like quarantine subreddits.
Oh, you're right.
Because there are
That's what it is.
quarantine subreddits.
I didn't know about that.
You're not supposed to. You have to go through, it's like Scientology. It's like you have to get to certain levels before you're trusted with the deep lore of Reddit. You don't get better as you go. But okay, before we enter chamber 2, which is, I agree with you, Brett.
Fully.
That's my favorite chamber.
Yeah.
Let's take a little ad break.
I'd love to read you this ad. As you can tell. All right. This episode is brought to you by executive dysfunction.
Oh.
Has this ever happened to you? I need to write an ad read for my highly successful podcast, but I just can't seem to get started.
No.
Well, if that applies to you, then you're already a customer of executive dysfunction. They'll help you conquer that pesky to-do list by helping you forget all about it. Use offer code ICAN'TEVEN for 100% off your productivity levels.
100% off. What
Yeah,
a deal.
I agree. Just no productivity. Keep that level nice and zero.
Nice and zero.
Yeah.
But you have to like navigate the website in such a way that it makes you just give up on the coupon.
Yeah.
Ooh, when I
Yes.
heard navigate, I said out.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to call someone to get it.
Ooh.
Right, that'll never happen.
You have to download an app.
Oh, God.
Can
the
they
very
call
worst.
me? I'm not going to answer.
But yeah, so thank you to Executive Dysfunction. Love you, girl. And we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed spending your break not doing a blessed thing, just reveling in the executive dysfunction. Like me.
I sipped some iced coffee. It was great.
Wait, that was about you?
No.
Oh.
No, I just related. I just try to, like, find common ground with our sponsors,
Oh.
you know?
You're
Like,
good in that way.
Yeah. I just can't justify, like, recommending a product if I don't believe in it. You know?
We
It's
are-
about values.
I'll say we are
Pay
a
me enough.
It's
values.
about ethics.
Oh.
It's about morals.
We're a values-based
Pay me enough and we'll
podcast.
see.
We'll see about any of those.
Yeah.
It's also about money.
Money.
So, yeah, plowing right along.
Plow it.
Let's walk down the dark hall into Chamber 2.
Yes. And I will say, at this point, like, in the movie, he says, before they enter Chamber 2, he says, like, I know what the one true religion is. And, like, basically, you're not going to like it. Like, I know what it is. Unfortunately, you're not going to like it.
And you know what? Spoilers.
They don't.
Well, yeah, he's right, and they don't.
Yes.
And yes.
But, like, I love that at this point in the movie, I had no idea where it was going. I was like, is he like a Satan worshiper? Does
Right.
he have like a deep one Cthulhu monster? Is there like like one of those like cosmic angels that makes your eyes burn out of your head?
Right.
Unfortunately, what he has is
Board games.
he has a lot of mansplaining.
Oh,
He
yeah.
has a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
mansplaining. But what's crazy is that this scene is so good. Like, it is like insufferable, like atheist mansplaining. And it is riveting to watch, and I absolutely loved this scene.
So, okay, yes, it's amazing. So they get into the second chamber. There's a little
It's
fake
like his
out
library,
Yeah, they get like a
basically.
fake out jump scare
Study.
in the hallway.
Yeah, there's a statue, and they think it's a person.
Well, no, not, yeah, oh yeah, when they're
the
going through the
hallway.
hallway.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they go into the library, and they get their coats. They realize the coats, the bike lock has moved coats.
Yes.
So he was going through their shit. I do like that when they first come in, this is like a little detail I noticed. They have their little name tags and they take them off the coats and put them on their clothes so you can see them. But at this point, they are putting their coats on, but they're not changing the name tags because they're no longer interested in engaging with him.
Yes.
And they already know at this point they are in danger, but they
Yeah.
are still playing along. So Sister Barnes basically tells Sister Paxton, play along, be polite, maybe he'll let us leave if we make him feel like he's correct. And when they enter, there are two doors in front of them. One is like a greenish, whitish color, and one is like a brownish, blackish color, right? There's a dark door and a light door, basically.
I'm impressed you remember. I just
Well, you know why I remember
doors.
So there was one on the left, and I think there was
Yes.
one on the right.
Well, the reason I know is because they're the same color as their coats.
Oh, okay.
So Sister Paxton is wearing the lighter coat, and Sister Barnes is wearing the darker coat. And so they are paired up with these doors. At least that's how he is imagining it. Because he is also making a fuck ton of assumptions about them. Right?
Yeah.
As like pretty young women who are religiously indoctrinated, he is assuming a lot of things about them. And so he goes into this big spiel, but like while he's talking, you can see this really creepy form that is behind a curtain. And it's just in the background. And you don't know what that is. And I love that in this, because again, you're like for me at this point, I still thought that all of his mansplaining, like yammering, was in service of some greater evil. And then it's like when he pulls that curtain, you realize that the mansplaining insufferableness is the evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is the end unto itself.
And it's like, I do recommend, no matter who you are, even if maybe you can't sit through this movie because you could just get too scared, like, try to watch this scene. I don't think there's anything scary in this movie before this scene. Like, I think a lot of the classic horror elements come after.
Yeah, there's tons of tension
Yes.
Yeah.
in these first two chambers, but no, like, scares, really.
I mean, he meows.
Well, that's true. There is some pretty, never mind, some pretty horrific stuff.
There's menacing quotes from Jar Jar and Spider-Man and all sorts of stuff.
And Radiohead.
Radiohead.
I mean, the truest horror, which thankfully was avoided, is if they actually had to sit down and play a game of Monopoly.
Oh, God.
Because that'll end.
Side note,
friendships.
good friend Justin, who should be listening, I'm not going to tell him I mentioned him, once made our group of friends play Triopoly.
What is that?
It was 3 Monopolies in one, and it lasted hours to the point I just found a blanket and found a pillow and went to sleep.
Not to be dramatic, but I'd rather die than play that.
I
played Monopoly with I played Monopoly with some friends in college. We were like, oh, it's like whatever, lazy Sunday afternoon, let's play Monopoly. And like 3 hours later, like none of us were friends.
I've never
anymore.
liked that game.
And like we made up, but it took like a couple days to cool down. Like literally that's how heated things got. And these were like my very close college friends.
It's okay to like Monopoly in like the 80s or 90s when you don't have a lot of other options.
But there's so many games
There's
now.
so
and a lot
many
of them
board
are fun.
games now, and some of them are actually really fun and don't last like 5 hours.
Yeah.
But yes, he uses Monopoly as an extended metaphor to talk about religion sort of rebranding and rebranding.
And basically calling religions like ripoffs of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
says
the original game was this.
Judaism.
Yeah, but I don't
the
know
original
what
game wasn't Judaism, but the original Monopoly
Oh, I don't know.
was created by a woman, and it was just, I remember hearing about it on a
Landlord's
podcast.
game or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some dude just ripped it and made a bunch of money, and she got nothing from it. So I did appreciate that was noted in this movie.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of things are ripped from other things.
Right.
Period. Besides religion.
Yeah,
But,
he basically, I mean, he says this pretty much outright, is he's like, you have this original game, the Landlord's game, and then you have the game Monopoly, which is like the ripoff of it, which he says is like just general Christianity, I guess.
Yes.
And then he's like, oh, and then there's the next version, and that he called that like Islam, and then he pulled out a Bob Ross version. We had a Dogopoly and an I Love Lucy Monopoly in our house growing up. So he took a gimmick one and called that Mormonism, which like this man's so rude. and you could tell they're just like pissed, but they like know. I mean, I would say Barnes is kind of pissed and annoyed.
Yeah.
Paxton's just so freaked out,
Yes.
trying.
Well, and also I think he thinks that this is gonna like shock them, like as if they aren't like Mormons out there in the world trying to convert people who've probably been screamed at and like been told that their holy book is stupid and nonsense and like been ridiculed.
Well, at one
But
point,
they don't live in Salt Lake City, you know, like they're
Sister Barnes likes
like
Book
they've
of
heard all this
Mormon.
before. Yeah, like they've
Right.
heard all this before.
Well,
They aren't unaware of criticisms of their religion.
They're not Amish.
right.
You know,
They
they're
live
not
in the world.
off grid.
Yes.
They do live in modernity
Right.
for
Oh
the
God,
most part.
they live in a society.
They do.
Yeah.
Bottom text.
And also, we find out more and more, they actually, I mean, it seems like he makes a lot of assumptions that they're not educated.
Yes, I
He
agree.
assumes they are not.
Right.
He assumes no one is as smart and educated as he is.
Right.
Where at one point Barnes calls him out on it because she's like, the frickin' like Osiris has an animal head, because he goes in this whole thing about how basically all the religions are the same and they have all these connections, and there are a lot of religious people who see that not as disproof but as proof.
Right.
Because so much of this movie, where it really stuck with me that I really liked, is how much of this movie is about you believe what you want to believe, what makes you feel safe and what makes you feel good. But he is just as guilty of it as they are,
Yeah.
which is, you know, his folly and his downfall. But he is kind of right in some ways. But it's just his assumptions that he's making about them and their faith. 'Cause
Yes.
he is trying to make them, and that's what Barnes thinks, is he is trying to make them disbelieve. Like he wants to like own them and make it so they admit.
He said, "Debate me, bro."
Yeah, he's a debate bro. He wants to go debate people on Piers Morgan about religion, and it's totally insufferable.
Yeah.
But he has two doors, and he writes on one belief, the light door, and then he writes on one door disbelief. Before he writes it on the doors, you have Sister Paxton is in front of the light door with her coat on, I think, and then Sister Paxton is in front of, or Barnes is in front of the dark door, and then they both switch when they're trying to figure out what the fuck this guy wants, because Sister Paxton, blonde Mormon, she's like, oh my God, thank you for having us. You're right. I don't believe in anything anymore. I'm going to go now. And so she goes to the disbelief door, even though she's clearly just doing that to appease him.
Right.
Which I kind of like later on, I'm like, I respect it. Like, she's like, I want to get the fuck out. I don't care what he thinks.
Right.
I'm comfortable in my own belief.
Yeah.
So will not interested in this game, just want to fucking leave. Like, he's saying, oh, you can't leave through the front door. It's not an option. It's locked. There's only one way out. And she's like,
the
okay,
back.
bye.
And he's clearly lying, right? Like, he is saying, and they know he's lying because they try to go out the front door. They can't. And they're like, haha, we can't get out the front door, sir. I'm sure that's a mistake. Can you please let us leave and let us out?
Oh, yeah, no, that door's not going to be unlocked.
He's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It can't be unlocked. And it's like, obviously not true, but like if they call him on it, then they're risking him escalating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're playing along, and Sister Barnes is like, no, he is trying to game us to where he wants us to say we don't believe because he wants us to not believe, so we need to say we believe. It's like it's like that thing from your favorite movie, Sam, The Princess Bride, with the poison.
So I can clearly not choose the cup in front of me.
Because they're trying to figure out what the fuck this guy wants. But I'm gonna tell y'all, if a man locks you in his house, like, who knows what
Kill
the fuck
him.
he wants? He's crazy. You should just jump. You should just body him. You should grab something sharp and stab him, which does end up being important.
Go for the eyes.
Well, I think
You want to gouge the eyes.
Yep.
yeah, gouge
Use
the
your thumbs
eyes,
if you need to.
punch him in the throat.
Yeah. Put something in his ear.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, clap over the ear.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that suction will just...
If
First, kick him the balls, then
Yeah.
do all the other things.
You're right.
you can hit someone really hard with the, what is this part of your hand? Like the butt
I don't know,
of
the
your
outside,
hand.
like, pinky side, like, butt of your hand.
Yeah, you can hit someone with the butt of your hand really hard on their nose, and it will
Oh,
like
yeah.
blind them.
Yeah.
Not like actually blind them, but it will make their eyes water and their
Yeah.
nose hurt a lot, and it will just send off like a sinus
Oh, yeah.
like thing. But they're like not trying to fight him or escalate.
Yeah.
So basically, they both agree that they're gonna go through the belief door.
Right.
Spoilers, none of this matters.
Yes, they both lead to the same
Chamber
number 3.
We
Chamber
knew.
number 3.
I think they
Yeah,
knew, but
right.
there was still a shred of
I don't
hope.
think they knew.
I think on some level
Really?
they knew.
Yeah,
There's no way.
I think they at least suspected. But like, in case they were wrong, they wanted to try to make the right choice.
Yeah.
But they still want to believe that they can get out by playing along.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I think that's another thing with just like, I don't know, like menacing men is just play along, tell them what they want to hear, and you might survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just kind of, you know, I took a self-defense class once, which is how I know about hitting someone in their nose or throat. And they basically said, oh, you know, if they have a gun, you just have to do whatever they say. And it's like, well, okay, thanks.
Okay,
But
except go to a second location, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Second location, you just fight.
Yeah, you just fight, and like if they kill you, then at least they kill you there.
And they're already in chamber 2.
Yeah.
So it's already bad for them.
Yep.
But
So they go through that door. They go
3.
down
And
those stairs to
they open the door and it leads down. And he's like,
dark ass stairs.
But what I love is that he has an explanation ready for every single thing. Oh, the door doesn't open? It's because there's this timer. Oh, my wife, she's just in the other room. At one point, he's like, oh, do you still want to believe I have a wife? We can still pretend to do that. Where
Yeah,
it's like,
that was really chilling.
when the door opens, when the belief door opens and it leads down into a dark like space where you can't see the bottom, he says, you saw my house.
Right.
It's on a cliff. You would have to go down, you dumb females, in order to get out from the
Right.
back.
You
Which is
saw the house. You just told me you did.
And they also have established to him that they pretend they're making a call, which he calls them out on.
Because of the metal in the walls.
Because there's metals in the walls, they have no service. But they are saying, you know, if our, you know, elder, if we don't come back, they're going to come looking for us. Which they establish, which I love, and we'll talk about it as we enter Chamber 3.
The biggest jump scare of the movie.
Jump scare.
Was
With Topher Grace.
Topher Grace is in this movie and has like 3 lines.
I love. Also, speaking of other trajectories of actors who've like gone off into weird shit, Topher Grace
I
is
know.
definitely one of them.
I was excited to see him in this movie, actually.
The last time I
but
saw
he didn't
him,
do
he was
anything.
playing David Duke.
Yeah, and I loved him in that. I loved him in Black Klansman.
So good.
And he was in Under the Silver Lake as like
Yes.
Andrew Garfield's scumbag friend.
Yes, I like that movie too. He shows up later, but
Yes.
they're entering chamber number 3, and it's just, this is literally just a dungeon room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go in, the door closes behind them. It's a big, dark, dank, wet dungeon.
I think they're using the light of their phones.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have phones that
There's just like a little like window in the very top like center.
that they try to get to it, they can't.
Yeah, they can't possibly reach it.
There's a
table.
There's a table with like a chair
Yeah.
that's in the middle, and now they're just stuck in this room. There's no other door they can see that leads out. They are now in the dungeon, chamber number 3. And there's like a thing on the wall that's like an intercom sort of. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
but it's like an old another thing I like about this movie that I noted is that everything's very analog.
Yep.
In the house, right? Like things are on like gears and timers. He has the bird thing.
Yeah,
I'm
the
now
water-
doing. It's
yeah.
my turn to do the arm motion. He has like a bamboo sort of like water thing for the drip in the ceiling. He has like old timey clocks. He's playing records and cassette tapes.
Yeah.
Instead of when he's menacingly making them listen to Radiohead.
I love the idea that he has Lana on vinyl.
Yes. He has everything's very analog. So like the intercom system he has is like the old school one where I think it's just literally like a tube
Yeah.
that leads from the upstairs into the downstairs. And he basically says like, you're about to witness a miracle. Like a woman is going to enter with the pie, and she sure does. And she looks kind of a wreck. She doesn't look great.
Presumably she's looked better. I'm not trying to shame women for their appearances, especially if they're being held in a dungeon.
She's looking rough.
She's looking
But
rough.
she is looking rough.
She has a blueberry pie, so there actually was a blueberry pie, which is a fun twist.
Yeah, I didn't have faith that there would be a
No.
blueberry pie, and then guess what? Blueberry pie.
There was a blueberry pie.
Makes you think.
And he's like, she's going to eat this pie. It's poisoned with like hemlock or whatever, nightshade, something like that.
Monk's hood.
Monk's
Well,
hood.
I think he said wolfsbane,
I
which
think they did,
is
actually.
like the monk's hood from Ginger Snaps. Check out our Ginger Snaps episode. So she does eat it, and she does die. And
Face just falls into the pie.
She goes face into pie. And
Which, like, been there, not in a dead way, but, like, sometimes you really want to eat that pie.
I really like to enter.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about, I have done the same with the pie. Sorry, continue.
No, I have. Okay, so what I was going to say is that I like to enter contests for, like, how fast you can eat food.
Okay.
And then I just eat the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Free, and I just do one.
Yeah.
So, like, I've entered hot dog eating contests and eaten a single hot dog. They don't like when you do this, by the way, but they actually can't stop you. No one is nice to you afterward, but you get a free food item.
I was not expecting this. Okay.
So, yeah, when I was a kid, I entered it was a pie eating contest, and it was a blueberry pie, and I had a loose tooth, and it went into the pie, and I was like, well, that's the end of
I'm
that.
done.
But for pie eating contests, this one at least, they had our hands behind our back.
So you really had
So
to.
I went face first into pie, and then
Yeah, once you lose a tooth,
and then the tooth went in, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Right, you had to
Yeah.
throw in the towel.
But like I throw in the tooth. I am competitive in certain things, but if I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna eat this free thing. So there's a little life hack for you, especially if you're hungry and you want something for free, is like you can just enter a hot dog eating contest and eat a single hot dog.
We're giving out so many tips
Wow.
today. Just
I'm
like
here to help.
you can gouge the eyes,
Yeah.
you can blind them with the palm of your hand.
You can lose your tooth
enter,
in a pie.
Yeah, you can lose your tooth in a pie. You
Get a
can
free
enter,
hot dog.
I have another quote that's semi-related. Let me pull it up. Doo, doo. So I have a quote from famous Mormon
Oh,
Mitt Romney,
okay.
who said, "My favorite meat is hot dog, by the way. That is my favorite meat. My second favorite meat is hamburger. And everyone says, oh, don't you prefer steak? It's like, I know steaks are great, but I like hot dog best. And I like hamburger next best." Oh, I think about this quote all the time. I like hamburger next best. It's like a quote that just like lives in my head. But
Oh,
so both me
God, that's
and
so
Mitt
funny.
Romney would enter a hot dog eating contest to eat a single hot dog.
Let's see y'all compete.
But yeah, they're in chamber 3, and
that lady died.
and he keeps saying she is going to come back to life any moment. Just wait. She is going to return from the beyond and tell you the horrible truth of what there is. And in that moment, the doorbell rings, and we have seen before this, we as the audience get to see Topher Grace as like elder whoever.
Yeah.
And he's, sweeping up at the Mormon church, and he looks at his little check-in thing and sees, oh, Barnes and Paxton are not back. I'm going to go off and get them. We see
Yeah.
him go to another house. Have you seen these girls? Nope. You haven't seen them. And so at this point, we as the audience are seeing Elder Grace,
Yes, Elder Grace.
Elder Topher Grace, comes to Hugh Grant's door and is talking with him. And then our two heroines run up the stairs and are trying to get matches that have fallen onto a rug that they are trying to pull so they can set shit on fire and get Elder Grace's attention, right?
Yes, and that was very tense.
So this is my theory for this movie. Is Elder Grace was never there.
Oh.
Because
I mean, that would make sense because there had to be a distraction to get them out of the room.
There had to be a distraction.
I didn't put that together until we were just going through it, but
Yeah, like so that's kind of my theory.
Because it was needed for the next step.
Yes.
right, 'cause they had to get out of chamber number 3 so that the switcheroo could happen.
Yes, because there is some shenanigans that go on in chamber 3 when they're not looking, and he is telling them, look closely at her, she's gonna come back to life at any moment. but his plan does not work if they are actually doing that. So he has to get them to leave. And so much of this movie is about believing what you want to believe is happening. And they want to believe that Elder Grace is going to come save them.
Yeah.
And I think that he uses that to get them distracted. So like my fan theory is that there is no one that rings the door. He just makes that noise happen. And that he is like just out of sight, letting them do stuff while the whole plan that he has is going into motion. So that's like my thing, is that we, the audience, are seeing what we want, right? Because we want them to be safe too.
Yeah.
And so like we're seeing that, even though we know he's not going to save them. That's not how these movies ever work.
Yeah,
Best
but also
case scenario, he gets in and gets killed, a la Misery, Shining,
yes,
whatever.
But it feels plausible that he will save them because it's Topher Grace. Literally, it's not like, well, no, because it's not a no-name actor, because it's...
Yeah, that's good.
Because you're like,
it kept
well,
us
you wouldn't
wondering.
hire someone like that for a role that has like 3 lines. Because I genuinely was like, oh, when's Topher Grace going to come back? Because otherwise, why is it Topher Grace?
Why is he here then?
Yeah.
And
because we as the audience want it to be Topher Grace.
I did. They knew.
We wanted
they got
it
my
to
letters.
We wanted him in this movie, and we wanted Topher to save the day.
Yeah.
The one person who's
this
like
little gray wig.
the one person who like came out of, isn't he like one of the few people who came out of that 70s show?
Yes.
Like
Like the only one,
unscathed?
yes.
Like he was like,
he didn't write any letters of apology for
He, like, didn't
a
hang out
rapist.
with them.
He was
No,
not.
he didn't.
He didn't seem to be friends with any of
Nope.
them.
justice
No.
for
Smart
Topher
man.
Grace.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
He's feeling good right now.
Yeah, I think he's doing fine.
Yeah, he's good. So basically they get the matches, they're trying to light fires, blah blah blah. At some point, Sister Blonde
Paxton.
Sister Blonde is like, the body has moved. It's in a different, she doesn't say the body's moved, she says it's different. Like she's in a different position.
Yeah, because
basically.
now the head is not, the face isn't face down
It's
and
to
the
the
eye
side.
to the side.
It's to the side. So she's moved. She's clocked that. Sister Barnes is like, who gives a shit? I'm gonna light this fucking thing on fire.
Right, they're trying to like smoke him out by like starting a fire in that like, I guess the intercom tube thing,
the tube,
whatever,
yeah.
in the tube. So they're focused on that. They're trying to, and the matches keep not lighting. So they're like running out of matches.
Very tense.
Yep.
And then we get our jump scare.
Yes.
We get spooky. We have more hagcore.
Yes.
We have a lot of
More hags.
exploitation.
Hags for days.
We on this pod.
We stand.
We stand
We love
some
a hag.
hags. We love hags. So we have a hag
Someday.
that pops up.
That'll be our merch. We heart hags.
I'd wear it.
Me too.
Comment below if you would love to have a special edition I Heart Hags shirt.
For the low price of only $49.95.
But it'll be made in America, union made.
Yeah.
So maybe more expensive than that. It's fine. So we have a hag jump scare. She's back. She's alive.
Yeah, the prophet.
Just like he said.
She's saying crazy shit. She mumbles at them, and then
Does Topher Grace double back?
Yes.
Yeah, he like gets to the gate and doubles back, and I thought that it was because he saw their bikes chained up. But then it turns out that's not what happened, because he'd already moved the bikes.
And Topher had forgotten to give the pamphlet.
Yeah. Yeah, he was just coming back to be like, take this literature.
but none of that happened.
Which also,
Unless it did.
I
Hugh
like
Grant
that,
was just giving them more time to try to get the
I like that
matches.
you say none of that happened, because when he came back with the pamphlet, I was like, this is stupid, because Hugh Grant already signed up for people
Yeah.
to come here, so why would... They're giving him too many pamphlets, so that made me happy that you said
I think
just
if
for the
you're a
pamphlet reason.
religious zealot proselytizer, you don't believe in such things as too many
Not too
pamphlets.
many.
Well, that's true.
But,
Okay.
but that's
Well,
what...
that's why I was thinking, because I kind of think you're right, Mel, about that. But also I think that,
Yeah.
but if you assume that like
It's
it
as
is,
annoying as possible. Sorry, go on.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you assume that like since they didn't sign back in, like someone would go looking for them, Hugh Grant may have just been like, well, I don't know the time frame, but like eventually someone will come ring on the doorbell and that'll
Yeah.
like get them out of the room. But like the timing is so convenient that like
I just
think
cannot
you're right,
believe, and that's me wanting to believe something.
Well, before
I can't believe this movie has a plot hole.
I just assumed.
Well, I think it doesn't have a plot hole either way, I feel. Like, both ways work, whether he's there or whether he's not there.
How would he get them to not see the switcheroo happen if he didn't like?
I assumed he knew the timing, like, because he's clearly done this before. At this point, you know he's done this before because he's got things down. Feels like to the minute, and so I assumed he knew that the elders would check by this point. Oh, if they're not back by 5 p.m., we have to go look for them. But then we also see that the elder had like stopped another place too.
Yeah.
So that kind of contradicted what I was thinking.
I don't think he's done this before in the same way. I think he signs up for everything. He signs up for anything where he thinks someone's going to come to his house, into his lair, that he presumably doesn't leave. And
he's got his menagerie. There's like a Scientologist.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that he probably is just like very open. And if a guy shows up, then he probably just has a nice conversation with them and sends them off. But
probably
if a woman shows up, like, she is going to Reddit Dungeon Chamber 3.
At one point I was like, how many candles did he buy in advance?
He gets them all sent to his house.
That's chamber 4, and it's just full of candles.
He hit up a Bath and
It's
Body
that meme
Works bulk
again.
sale.
Oh my god!
It's the meme about. Were you the one who was talking about that the other day? Where it's like I think it's like an old drill tweet or something where he's like, I'll post it, but it's like where he's like, I can't get the budget for my
please
family
help,
to
my
work.
family is dying.
And it's like a bunch of swords, and there's one for candles. So I'll find the candle one and I'll post that. So basically, the woman, she has said that she saw the beyond or whatever.
Yeah.
During this time, at one point, before he's in there, we get a Chekhov's plank of wood with nails in it.
Yes.
That literally was done so well that I had forgotten about it. By the time it showed up again, I was like, oh yeah, because it doesn't linger on it. It shows us once and establishes that we have a plank of wood with nails in it. Sister Barnes has also taken a letter opener from the ground that she has given to Sister Paxton because she said, he is clearly more suspicious of me.
Yeah.
So when I say the words magic trick.
Magic underwear.
Was it magic underwear? Because I needed subtitles. I couldn't she was like, the magic word is, and then it just sounded like Simlish. It sounded like Simlish to me. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll find out what that is eventually. And then later she says magic trick. So, okay, that's why I need subtitles.
I do too. I'm like, I know that I love a Robert Eggers movie after I've seen it at home with subtitles.
When
like
you
The
actually
Witch
know
or
what
like The
people are
Lighthouse.
saying.
Yeah, because the first time I was like, I probably liked it, but I wonder what anyone said.
I intuit them like when you go to like a Shakespeare play.
Yes.
And you can kind of get what's happening.
You get the gist.
But you don't really know what all the meaning is.
Yes.
Because you're not from Shakespeare times.
Yes.
Similar vibes there. But so I understood there was a key word. It's magic.
No one was doubting that, Mel.
I knew there was something happening.
I don't know.
I just didn't understand what. So that's all been established.
Yes.
So and also earlier when they're in Chamber 1, when they take the coats off, we see a scar that I immediately knew what it was because I had an Nexplin on at one point. But we see a scar on Sister Barnes' arm, which comes back to be important. So
yeah, that was totally lost on me.
I didn't even notice the scar, or I didn't remember it.
Well, it zooms in on the scar at one point, and I guess if you are someone who doesn't know a lot about birth control, you would just be like, oh, there's a cut. Or maybe you would think like, I don't know. I kept thinking about the movie Split because it was so similar in some ways.
Yes, it was.
Where in Split, it's Anya Taylor-Joy, right? Mm-hmm. She has like self-harm scars all over. So you could maybe assume it's self-harm, or maybe she had been through abuse, but you see a big, like not a big scar, but a scar on her arm that's not addressed again until later. But we have these little things that it's established. And so Chamber 3 is where everything starts coming together. And he's again just sort of like yapping at them.
Yes. Smugly yapping.
Smugly yapping. More and increasingly menacingly, because they are literally in a dungeon at this point. And he's like, oh yeah, the truth is going to make you want to die. Which is not something anyone ever wants to hear, especially when you're cornered by as much as I have
By
gone...
Bill Maher.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
God.
what I imagine Bill Maher is like in his real life.
My God.
I was thinking that throughout the movie. I was like, this is how Bill Maher is in my mind.
If you want to see...
Like smug atheist.
True
piece of shit.
horror.
Preying on women.
Watch the Bill Maher interview with the Hawktua girl. It will
No,
make
truth
you want to die.
That's exactly.
The truth will make you want to die if you watch. Oh,
I'm not
Sam's
strong
face.
enough.
I've seen clips.
hate Bill Maher.
Yes, Bill Maher is a great example of like who this guy is because he has very Bill Maher talking to young woman energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, now I'm just thinking about that horrible interview. It's just so bad.
Ugh.
He's so creepy and condescending.
Yeah, y'all. We talk about horror movies, but the real horrors are not in these movies. They're out there among us.
It's Bill Maher's podcast.
Yeah, it's Bill Maher.
So basically, he is saying he's kind of engaging in a more hostile conversation with Sister Barnes at this point. And Sister Barnes is trying to distract him.
Yeah, she kind of walks around him so he's facing away from
Sister
Paxton.
Who has now pulled out, well, because we hear magic trick or magic, because he's basically like, how can you explain that she came back, right? And what did she say she saw? Like, nothingness?
Well, she explained that she'd almost died once. I can't remember how.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Sepsis? I don't remember how.
It was something like that, yeah. So I can't believe that I forgot this during recording, but Sister Barnes' near-death experience was caused when she ate Taco Bell as a child, like food poisoning, and then the kids at school called her Taco Hell, and I just can't believe that I would forget that. Anyway, back to whatever.
But she was going off on like, that's a classic thing that people say, but really it's when you're on the brink of death and then you start hallucinating, blah, 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 blah. So she was immediately like, you're full of shit. What she said is consistent with what all those people are saying.
Yes.
And that's when it happens,
And she
right?
says it's
Something
all just
about
a
magic
magic
underwear.
trick. Well, she says magic trick, I
Magic
thought.
trick.
She says magic
She
trick.
says it's all
Okay.
just magic underwear.
Oh, did she?
I don't know.
Whatever.
I mean, I'm pretty sure magic underwear was the key
Yeah,
phrase,
she
but it was
said
kind of a
it.
non sequitur, like when she said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, she's basically saying stab him.
Yes.
But
before it,
Oh my god.
Paxton gets a chance. He takes out a box cutter.
He box cutters her neck.
And
It was
yeah,
so quick.
he slashes Sister Barnes's like,
And that's
throat,
when I was
basically.
like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
That's what really kicks up.
Absolutely.
Because you're like, oh, I thought that was the protagonist.
Exactly. Because like
Now
again,
she's
like
bleeding out on the floor, and I guess it's not.
because that's just again like movies like Split or like there's a lot of horror movies where you have the sort of like edgier girl becomes the last, the final girl.
Yeah.
And our final girl gets killed, and we just have the seemingly stupid, seemingly naive, seemingly like
Passive.
Fragile.
passive,
Passive, that's
vulnerable,
Yeah.
completely indoctrinated, religious sheep, right?
Yeah, like she
Yeah.
seems like she would be the perfect target for what Hugh Grant is trying to do.
right.
Like she seems like his like perfect target, perfect victim.
Which is why he basically wants to convince her to kill herself. Is like his game here.
yeah.
So he then goes for Sister Paxton's Nexplanon scar and pulls out. He does like a oh god, it reminded me of like what was it, Black Hawk Down, when they're like digging
Never
into
saw that.
his.
It was
leg.
fucking gross,
was
whatever
very
it
gross.
was.
Yeah, because he's just like rooting around in her arm.
He's like, it's in here somewhere.
Like pulls a vein like it's a rubber band. Like
yeah, that like
sorry,
tendon
no.
or whatever
Sorry.
it was. Yeah, that was nasty. Then pulls it out and he's like, actually, she was a fake person and she was a robot, and here's the microchip.
Yeah, very.
You're
This
like,
is-
huh?
This is all a simulation.
Yeah.
And I was
Wait.
like, what is this for me? I'm
Wait,
always saying
hold on.
everything's
So
a simulation.
into
Wait, what did I write down? I made
Uh-oh.
I said it had shout outs to our host's beliefs. For Sam, it's simulation theory.
Yep.
For Brett and Mel, it's being insufferable know-it-alls.
I was tickled
yeah,
when
went
he
to all our
said
beliefs.
simulation.
Are you a simulation theory person?
I'm not.
I feel like
I'm
you
ready
really
to
are.
be. I'm just like ready to be told this. Don't tell my therapist. Don't bring this up with
Oh my
him.
god.
Like, I immediately, like, as someone who has had that exact same implant, I knew that it was an Nexplanon, but like, or whatever the non-name brand version of it is. It's a birth control.
Birth control implant.
It's an implant that, like, I don't know, makes you not able to
Birth.
Yeah, you can't.
It helps you control your birth.
I don't know what exactly it does, but
all that matters is that you have the faith that it will.
That it will work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about faith. It's about belief. You know?
Well, it gave me cystic acne, so I didn't have it very long.
Well, I believe in cystic acne for sure.
It is very real.
I have that belief. But yeah, so that's when she was never like. Turns out she was like never buying into like anything he was saying, but she's really like can't even like fake it very well with this like simulation theory.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
She doesn't straight up say no, but she's obviously like
he's like writing
yeah,
on
bro.
the table with his fucking like expo marker.
Yeah.
And he's like telling her that this is a simulation ship because he is assuming that because she's a little baby Mormon who doesn't know anything, he doesn't know that she had this whole conversation earlier about watching porn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he just assumes that she don't know nothing. And so he's telling her this is a simulation ship because he's pivoting and pivoting and pivoting.
Yes.
Right? Like he is just debate broing the hell out of her. And he underestimates her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, nope, it is literally just like clearly there's a switcheroo.
Yeah, what did she say? She was like I think that you're improvising.
Yeah.
Like something happened that wasn't according to your plan and now you're improvising to try to salvage the situation. And clearly he is.
Yeah.
Like he kind of like keeps his facade on, but you can tell that he's like, well, that is true.
I loved that moment.
Yeah, and he's like, so what do you think
loved
happened?
it.
And she like Scooby-Doo solves it.
She figures it out.
Because she's like, under this table there's a trapdoor
yeah.
and
She
there's
like
this.
she's like looking at like where the water goes.
Yeah.
So she's doing Sherlock shit.
She's very observant.
Right, she is.
She's figuring shit out. She's like, oh, like there's, there has to be another lady. And she actually guesses right. She says there are two women, they switched out, and therefore there has to be another way out of this room that she could have gone to when we were distracted.
That wouldn't have been through chamber number 2 because they could like see into it.
And there's water that's like built up on the table because everything is very damp. And so she pours the water and it goes down a trap door. And he's like, if you're right, there's a dead body down there. And she's like, I'm going to chamber 4.
Well, it's kind of like, what else
else
can
can
you
you
do?
do?
You have
yeah.
to go through.
She's
Right.
gonna see.
The only
she's
way
gonna
out is
see it
through.
She's gonna see it through, and I do love that. Like, I don't know. Again, this sort of like, don't go into chamber 4 of Reddit, but like if you've spent time on like the men's rights subreddits or like some of those, here's the red pill.
Yeah, the red pill.
The red pill subreddit. You can go on there and you can see men talk about women as having quote unquote hamster brains, right? Like they literally don't think.
Well, they wouldn't say women. What is it?
Females.
Femoids.
The femoids, the filthy femoids have.
Actively throwing up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, well.
That's chamber 4, baby.
Yeah, we are now in chamber 3.
No, I'm out of
Chamber
it.
4 just gets worse.
I'm out of the simulation. I'm not going to that chamber.
You would have killed yourself the second
Bye.
you would have pulled out that
Wait,
Nexplanon and you would have grabbed that letter opener.
said you're
Yeah,
right.
he's like, I think you should kill yourself, and you're like, you know what?
And he's
how
like,
I
wait,
get
I'm
out
not
of it.
done. You're already
I'm like,
dead.
oh, no, I
Yeah.
am. Buy it.
I am sorry.
Um,
But yeah, so she does climb down.
she does climb down, and there is a dead body.
Yeah, so he's like, well, guess you were right.
And then he like closes the trapdoor.
Yeah.
And so she's like, well, I guess I have to see
Keep
where this
going.
leads.
Yep, so it's like Silence of the Lambs style, where Clarice is in the endless like labyrinth in that basement. She's just like walking through all these chambers.
It
It's
reminded
like,
me of Barbarian,
yes,
too.
yeah, the whole movie reminded me of Barbarian. But yeah, she's like going through these various rooms with like a lot more religious iconography. Are they like themed rooms, like little themed?
It all
It
just
seemed like
I think
couldn't tell
again,
what
it's
it
all
was
just
supposed to
very
be.
like it's mocking.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
like at this point, Like,
Yeah, it's really like different religious symbols like juxtaposed to be.
once he starts fucking talking about simulation theory, like, there's probably not gonna be. He doesn't have a jackal behind a curtain.
Right.
We would have seen it by now.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I missed that tapestry jackal.
We don't have a tapestry jackal. We don't have a nail with Jesus's clone juice on it.
No.
Like, it's just gonna be this guy. So she's walking down all these hallways, and then we get to a very Barbarian-esque.
Yeah, the actual, like, basically the same set.
Yeah.
From Barbarian, where it's like all these cages. But unlike in Barbarian, where they're empty, and they were only formerly used to keep women, in Heretic, there are ladies in these cages.
Yeah.
And, like, they all kind of have that same haggard look that, like, the prophet, the two women who played the prophet did.
And you can see why they were so, like, hunched over, bent over, because they'd been in these cramped
these, like, 3 foot tall cages,
And he's just, like, misting them like they're plants.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I find they're more docile if they're kind of wet and cold.
Yeah, wet and cold.
But then he cuts off that one woman's, like, finger.
Yeah.
He's, like, trimming her nails, and then he's like, I'm gonna take this finger, too. Why not?
Because that's when he gives his, finally,
the thesis.
Manifesto, the thesis is complete. He says the one true religion is control. And he is in control.
Yep.
And this is when he wants her to start cowering, begging for her life. And he can presumably either kill her at his whimsy or jam her into an open crate. But is that what happens, dear listeners?
What do you think?
Yes, and that's the other no. No, she another movie I thought of was the movie Red Eye. She red eyes him. She hits him right in the neck with her letter opener.
Yeah, she does. Which is, and then she, like, kind of gets past him and runs back up to chamber 3.
He never expected her to fight him.
Yeah, no, he never did.
Never expected that, and that is the moment where his mask really slips. Is when
and he let his guard down. He was, like, in full, like, I've won. This is my gloating, triumphant villain moment. So, yeah, he wasn't
and she
prepared.
was like, counterpoint, there's a new hole in your throat.
Right. But have you considered stab?
You considered being stabbed. And so, yeah, so she gets out back to chamber 3.
Yes.
And that's where she is, they kind of have their final showdown where...
Final scuffle.
Yeah, like he stabs her.
Yep.
With the box cutter, and they're both having a bad time. She then starts praying, and she is talking about how, like,
she's talking about the prayer experiment.
Yes, where it's like, if people pray for you, do you get better? Like, basically, like, does prayer actually impact healing? And
she's like, there was the study where they divided into 2 groups. One group was not prayed for, the other one was, and at the end of the study, there was no difference in recovery outcomes for those who were prayed for versus those who weren't. But then she was basically like,
well, she was like, isn't it nice?
Yeah.
Isn't it nice
to have
pray?
someone, to have someone to pray for and to be prayed for, like, by someone.
Where it's like, this guy, at this point...
It's for kindness, and, like, it makes me feel better.
As she knows, and as us, as the audience now knows, this is not a man who has any people.
Right.
I mean, he owns people that he's collected.
Yeah.
But no one is praying for him. No one cares for him. He is, like, he is enlightened by his own intelligence. He is the 19-year-old Reddit user on r/atheist who really thinks that he is euphoric not because of a phony God's blessing, but because he is enlightened by his own intelligence. And isn't that so isolating? And so she begins to pray as he is crawling towards her. At first, it's like, is he going to finish her off? And then it's sort of like he's just sort of...
He's kind of overcome by, like...
I mean, he's
blood loss and
out.
Emotion. But I felt like there was also an element of, like, he's starting to doubt a little bit.
She's winning.
Yeah. Right. And even if the only thing he's doubting, like, is his level of control, then he's doubting that. Like, that is his religion.
Yeah.
He's all of a sudden, he's like, oh shit, like, my whole religion is that I have control, and now I don't. Because, like, I'm bleeding out.
His
And, like,
faith
this
is
girl is...
shattered.
Yeah, right. And, like, this girl, like, fought me when I never thought she was going to. Like, she figured out my whole thing when I didn't think she would.
If the only thing you believe is that you are a god amongst mere mortal femoids.
Right, and then you get got by like
then
a
a
tiny Mormon missionary girl.
And the one who you most suspect is the easiest prey gets you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not only figures out your entire plan, but then stabs you in the neck. Like,
And goes toe to toe with you, like philosophically.
Yeah.
You know
'Cause
what?
they have a few discussions.
I say, you know what kind of pie that is? That's humble pie, baby.
Ooh.
And that's not just a candle. And then we get another little jump
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, because it seems like then he's going to like stab her again.
Yes, he's gonna take her out, and then Chekhov's board with nails in it
Yeah.
reappears. Sister Barnes. There is a miracle. She is back
She
to life.
does come back to life, but just to whack him with the board, and then she's back to death.
Which is
Yes.
a righteous thing to do.
She did good.
Yeah, so she finishes him off, and then we kind of have a moment where it's like, what do you believe happens next?
Right.
Oh, sorry,
Because
just
earlier we talked.
footsied you.
I liked it. Because earlier Hugh Grant is talking about the butterfly dream. And so Sister Paxton is like, oh, is that when a butterfly flaps its wings and there's a monsoon on the other side of the
And
world?
he's like,
no,
it's the
you
butterfly-
idiot. That's a
that's
butterfly
effect, you stupid bitch.
You moron. So the butterfly dream.
So butterflies appear multiple times in this.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
Because she says that she wants to be reborn as a butterfly.
Yes.
And then land on like a loved one's hand to show them that she is there for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment when they're in chamber 1 and there's like a moth/butterfly that's being attracted to light.
Yeah,
Which
which
is
definitely
both
made me think
them.
of Silence of the Lambs
Yes.
also. 'Cause
There's-
it's the moth.
It's very Silence of the Lambs. It's also very much like they are moths to a flame, and that's
Yeah.
how he sees them, right?
Yeah.
Like they're drawn to the people who literally are just like, come to my house, please, to
Yeah.
sell me religion. But yeah, so
But what does he say? Like, the butterfly dream is like, because it ends with like, is he a butterfly who dreamed of being a man, or a man who's dreaming of being a butterfly?
I
Like, that's not the right phrasing, but like, it's something like that.
I kind of have like a natural defense where when someone is explaining something like that to me, I sort of zone out. So I don't.
Well, I do this
This
thing
is
where
how
I
I
like,
survived on Reddit so long.
well, I do this thing where I like to learn and like intake and process information.
Well, I have
don't know, I'm just quirky.
ADHD, so if you talk long enough, I'm out.
I don't know, I'm just quirky like that.
I paid attention to the meowing, the singing in the jar jar, but he lost me at butterflies.
Well, that's basically all it is. It's like a butterfly wakes up from a dream, like dreamt he was a man,
Oh,
and then it's
yeah.
like, were you a man dreaming you were a butterfly, or are you a butterfly dreaming you're a man?
And so, yeah, so like one ending is she gets out, she is going to live, she's going to be saved because she's gotten his keys or whatever.
Yeah.
And a butterfly lands on her hand, presumably it's Sister Barnes. And that could be the end, except we then see, and this reminded me another movie that Brett and I love. Another good religious movie, Saint Maud.
Yeah.
Where we get
that that like 1 second shot.
Yikes. We get 1 split second of reality
Yep.
in that movie. And we get 1 split second of reality where the butterfly disappears. It's
Yes.
not. It's presumably not there. And she wants it to be there. She wants to believe it's real. She wants to believe in hope. I think it's entirely possible she never left Chamber 3.
I was wondering, after I
Yeah,
saw
I
that,
thought
I
that
was
too.
like, did Barnes actually kill or like plank the
Right.
guy? Yeah.
Because they're both bleeding out.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right. Everybody's bleeding out.
Everyone's bleeding out.
it's in.
Everyone's doing it.
Bleeding out is in, baby.
Out is in is out.
Butterflies, men, whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, I would be remiss if I didn't go back to you, Sam,
Oh.
because you wanted to talk about music.
Oh, just the
and
music part.
I want to hear it.
His mansplaining of music, I mean, it was interesting. In the car, Mel and I were talking about what you'd watched, Napoleon, and a theme in that reminded you of Pride and Prejudice.
No, it's the same
It's
song.
the same song. And I was like, well, that's kind of one of the best parts of music is you take something you know and you enhance it. You
Yes.
build from it. And so Hugh Grant in this is talking about it like it's a bad thing, like, oh, you're ripping from other people. But I'm like, no, you're taking inspiration from other
Yes.
people and building on it.
Are you
so
coming out as a Mormon?
yes. Finally.
So
in this simulation, this
Show me
next
your
one.
magic underwear.
Oh, oh God.
That was my cue to stab you in the neck.
Yeah.
No.
That's all right.
Because what he was comparing Radiohead's Creep to Knocking on Heaven's Door. When I was looking this up and then comparing Pride and Prejudice music, because I was like, oh, well, I love the theme.
We're talking
in
about
that.
2005
Oh,
Pride
yeah.
and Prejudice, by the way.
Obviously with my Mr. Darcy. I was like, oh, that's from Benjamin Britten's The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, which is a piece I really love and I've played. I look it up. That's not where it's from. Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra is ripped from A Postcard to Henry Purcell.
Which is
Oh.
the
Wait, no.
song...
Wait, no. That is, I went backwards.
Oh?
Oh, yeah, Rondo for Strings.
Because I would say that's the song in Pride and Prejudice where they're dancing and everyone disappears around them. I fuck with that album
Yeah.
so hard.
What is it? Do 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 do. Cut it if it sounds too bad.
Nope.
But
Yeah,
Leave it
that,
in.
That would never happen.
but I'm like, it's all ripped. It's all ripped. And
Well,
like,
it reminds me of the quote that we had in when I went to music school, which was, "Good artists borrow, great artists steal."
yeah.
No, that's genuinely what they like taught us in music school, and it's true, because it's like someone has already done such beautiful work and made like all these amazing compositions, and you can build on that.
In classical Chinese landscape painting, there are... I'm sorry, I just...
No.
There's... it's the same idea.
That's my second favorite genre of music.
I don't know anything about music, okay? I don't know anything about music. But I did take an art history class in college for my religion major and my Chinese language and literature major. Oh my god, I'm so insufferable. But I took a class on like Chinese landscape painting over the years. And if you look up Chinese landscape paintings, they look basically very similar for like 2,000 years. And it's because one of the major rules, there's like 6 rules or something. I don't remember them all. It's been a while. But one of them is copy the masters.
Yep.
And that is very much like...
I think that's true in a lot of artistic disciplines.
It's like if
Don't
someone-
recreate the wheel.
Yes, exactly.
Like you can add
Yeah.
to the wheel. You can make it...
You can embellish. You could bedazzle the wheel.
Ooh.
One final thing I want to mention, because I have so many notes here and I cannot talk about it all. With all the butterfly sort of metaphor being used for the women in this, Hugh Grant's character is being portrayed as a spider. And his web and his maze, it's his it's his web of lies, his web of bullshit. There's a moment where you see a spider, because a spider comes out from the intercom tube at one point.
Yeah.
And so, like, he sees himself as this big, grand spider, and they're caught in his web.
Yes.
And it just never occurs to him that they're not just caught in his web. But yes, no, I did really...
That's a good point.
And a lot of the cinematography in this is also really fun.
I agree.
The way that it gets closer and closer as things get more intense.
And the sets were great.
Yeah.
Great.
All the chambers were very
Distinct.
visually distinct.
Yeah.
That great like ambiance that was perfect for the scenes that were set there.
Chamber 1 is like any grandma's living room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chamber 2 is like rich, insufferable guy's library.
Overeducated.
Library. My dad he's not insufferable in that way, but he has a 2-story library filled with shit like that.
Pretty cool.
And my uncle has a also giant. These are not blood related.
Oh.
These are different sides of my family. I never had a chance.
You
y'all.
never had a chance.
These are different chambers of the
These
family.
are different chamber 2s. I inherited it from both sides.
Oh, no
They
wonder.
both have custom made libraries that have all sorts of shit.
When I'd be living my Beauty and the Beast fantasy.
Yes.
You can do that. My uncle's has the ladder that you can go on.
Really?
Yeah, I have a picture of me on it doing literally that.
Yes, of
with my
course.
arm out.
You have to.
I
That's what they're
did.
for, yeah.
And that's what I did. So like that, and that's chamber 2, and then like chamber 3 is like a dungeon, and then chamber 4 is just you're in hell. It's mad and it's horrible. So yeah. Go see it.
Similarly, I was like, you can smell each one of them. Like, first one's obviously
Blueberries.
candle blueberry.
Yeah, you're right.
Second one is old
Hardwood,
books.
Yeah.
Old books.
Hardwood,
Yes.
old books. Third is
Dust.
damp.
Yeah.
Damp.
mold,
Gross.
mildew, and
Mildew.
yeah,
moist, and then the last one is
Death. Right.
death.
Yeah.
piss and shit and death.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's they're pooping in them cages.
Oh, for sure.
Then they're not getting showers.
No. Well, they're getting misted.
Well, they are getting misted, like the produce
Like
at the
an
grocery
orchid.
store.
Yeah.
But literally.
Yes, literally.
But it
is
doesn't-
a mister like
It doesn't
that.
have the rain, the thunderstorm that goes off
The
sometimes.
thunderstorm, like, sound effect.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it
Loathings?
gay?
Oh, gays.
Oh, gays.
Gays.
Gay. No.
It's not a very sexual movie. I mean, even though he uses like some moments to put them off, like he tries to upset them a bit.
Yeah, he tries to get
with
them
it.
off kilter.
I never get the vibe that it's about sex for him. It is truly just about control.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, so I don't know. Not gay in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and I didn't get gay vibes from either of the girls.
No.
Yeah, not gay.
Zero hags in my cage of gay.
Yeah, 0 matches out of however many matches.
No bikes left outside any longer.
They're gone. All right, devoid of gay.
Devoid. This is our first real devoid.
Loathe. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I loathe anything.
It's not my
I
favorite
had some
movie of the
notes,
year,
but yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't my favorite movie, but I really enjoyed it. Like, all the performances were great. All the filmmaking was great. Like, there's really nothing for me to complain about.
The only thing I loathed was seeing the vein.
Oh.
But I also think it was kind of funny. Like, I wouldn't remove it from the movie, but I
Yeah.
was grossed out. But
Yeah.
I liked it in the movie.
Sure.
But I loathe that.
The way it made you feel.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you.
I mean, you go like over like so
Oh, I
much.
loathe Bill Maher. That's
Yeah.
my
Oh,
loathe.
I think
I
we
loathe Bill
all-
Maher.
Good one.
We all loathe Bill Maher. I'm glad we can all agree on
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't loathe this about the movie, but I love how tense and threatening he is as a character in this movie for so long without there being any violence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the first death that happens is a poison death, and she doesn't even die spectacularly, right? Like she's
No.
not throwing up fountains of blood or anything. She just sort of was like,
Yeah.
"Bleh," and then just like goes face first into the pie. Like there is, as you said, Sam, some terrible violence later, but that's like like an hour and a half or something
Yeah, it
into
is.
the movie. And I think that's really commendable because that's something that like his other movie Haunt, which is essentially, your usual cast of teenagers looking for a fun party go to a haunted house that's extreme and really they're just being hunted in there. Like there's a lot of horrible violence in that. And I really like, and there are things I do like about that movie, but it's not that part of it because it's so hackneyed. But I do love how well this movie is constructed, and that even though it's tense, it's funny.
Yeah.
And then
I
Yeah.
laughed a lot.
Yeah,
It's very
I don't know if
funny.
we've stressed that.
This
maybe
movie is
enough, but
really funny.
It's very funny, especially that first hour.
Yeah.
Like lots of like laugh out loud moments.
I will be rewatching.
We were all
Chamber
laughing
2.
out loud, yeah.
Yeah, I think we were laughing more than any other group of people in the theater.
We were, but other people were laughing,
Yes,
but we
yeah.
were definitely laughing the most.
We were leading the charge.
We
And
were.
it wasn't even uncomfortable laughter. It was, oh, that's funny.
Like, yeah, that's legitimately funny.
Never in a million years did I expect to hear like a Misa Jar Jar Binks come out of Hugh Grant dressed as a wholesome grandpa in that den.
Yeah.
Wild. Absolutely
Oh.
wild.
I think I wrote down a Letterboxd review, which was just A24 has gentrified mansplaining
Yeah.
for this movie. And I was like, that's exactly it. That's what they did.
Yeah. Really great. I 100% recommend this. I'm going to be rewatching at least the first hour of this.
I'm sure I will too when it comes to streaming.
I'll be rewatching it a lot, and then it's like once they're in Chamber 3, I'll probably stop. Not that I dislike that, but I just think like
Yeah.
I really want to experience Chamber 1 and 2 again. And I'm sure there's a lot we even missed because this movie is really packed with stuff.
It
My
is.
mom has made it known she wants to see it, so I'll be seeing it in theaters again probably very soon. We've also rotted her brain because she's been my buddy for the
what have you
theater
inflicted
horror
upon her?
movies.
The Substance.
The Substance. Did I see Longlegs with her? Maybe. But yeah, she's been watching them with me, and she was like, "I want to see Heretic," and I was like,
"Yeah,
sorry, I'm already seeing it tomorrow with my friends, but maybe another time
friends.
with my secondary friends. Mom, you're my best friend." She's not my best friend. She thinks she is.
Wow.
But yeah.
Damn, that was a lot.
Spilling all the tea on this pod. Well, guys, where can people find us?
My best friend is my own intelligence, and I'm enlightened by it.
You can find Mel inside their own brain.
Yes.
Be enlightened by their own intelligence.
In my, what is it? In my, what does he fucking say in Sherlock? His, like, mind castle?
Mind palace.
My mind, I'll be in my mind palace.
I'll be in my simulation.
But in the meantime, we do have a link tree.
Yeah. Queer and Loathing Pod at gmail.com. Email us, Queer and Loathing Pod on Instagram. That link tree is there.
Yes, I am sort of working on getting us to be even more insufferable by going on Twitch, but that's a work in progress. So keep an eye out for that, maybe.
We're going to be the insufferable atheists.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, like...
I'm agnostic,
if
but I can be insufferable.
If I was left alone... I don't even know.
Left to your own devices.
If I was left to my own... Not my own devices, but if I was, like, isolated too long, like, I don't know, like... I could be that annoying.
Yeah.
I think Bill Maher is more annoying, and I don't think I could ever reach that level. But I don't hate Muslims enough to be Bill Maher.
I really do hate that
man so
much.
This podcast is dedicated to fuck Bill Maher.
Yes.
Fuck you, Bill Maher.
Yeah, fuck
loser.
you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess until next time. Do we have anything else?
No.
All right.
No. I know I wasn't confident in that. But
I'm
no,
Samantha.
No, I'm queer.
I'm Loathing.
And I'm Samantha.
Do you believe?